Hey everybody, thanks for listening to On the Podcast, short episode format podcast to give you something to do while you kill time doing your business on the pod. Or maybe you happen to be a member of a bridal party in a wedding and you're first person up to get your hairs done and your nails did. And you're done at 9:30 a.m.
And you don't have to go anywhere until
3.
Yuck.
You ain't got diddly to do. And
You have 46 episodes worth of on the podcast to listen to.
You better start listening to them. So, while you wait for other people to get ready, listen to us, learn, and embrace love. I'm Liz.
And I'm Katie. Hi, Liz.
Hey, Katie.
What are we talking about today?
Katie, so the World Cup is happening right now. The Ladies World Cup.
Ladies.
Ladies and soccer. Soccer ladies. Sports and ladies doing sports.
All I know is the U.S. isn't in it anymore.
We're not in it anymore. This episode's going to air when a lot of people aren't in it anymore. Disappointing showing by the United States national women's national team. That's okay. But it made me start thinking about somebody that we had mentioned before in an episode. We talked about the Brazilian soccer team who had a plane crash and resorted to cannibalism. And we're not going to talk about that, though. Because before that, so this was in the 20 teens, but before that there was another incident which I legitimately thought it was a soccer team, but it's a rugby team.
Oh, well, soccer, rugby,
same thing
hands,
in the United
feet,
States.
you know.
Same thing in the United States. We're like, we don't know. Rugby? Oh, that's called soccer. So this is actually going to be a two-parter because it's quite lengthy and deets.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah.
I'm ready for it.
It's light, it's airy, it's fun.
And destructive in death.
Yeah. Maybe I mean light and airy as in there was a plane in the air. So we'll get into it. This is called, this had to do with the Uruguayan Air Force Flight 571.
Carrying the Uruguay rugby team?
We'll get there.
Okay.
So it's also known as the Andes Flight Disaster.
Ooh, I like that name better.
Or, if you're optimistic, the Miracle of the Andes.
No, disaster.
Yeah, so this episode will be about the Andes Flight Disaster, and the next one will be the Miracle of the Andes.
Cool.
The Old Christians Club Rugby Union team from Montevideo, Uruguay, had a match in Santiago, Chile, against the Old Boys Club, which was an English team.
It was actually called the Old Boys
Club. The Old Boys Club, yeah, classic. It's the British. They're like, oh, this would be so funny.
I would laugh at it.
Yeah. So there were 40 passengers and 5 crew members. The pilot was Colonel Julio Cesar Ferradas, and he was an Air Force pilot with 5,117 flying hours. And the co-pilot was Lieutenant Colonel Dante Hector Laguarara.
Your pronunciation's much better in this episode.
Oh my gosh, I'm so happy to do something that's Spanish language, a language I semi-speak poorly, but not nearly as poorly as every other language that exists outside of English, which I don't speak well either. So the team had 10 extra seats, so they invited family and friends along. And then somebody kind of canceled last minute. So Graziella Mariani was headed to his oldest daughter's wedding and grabbed that final seat.
So have you told me when was this? When did this happen? Have we touched on that?
That's the next line of my notes.
Oh, perfect timing.
So they departed Carrasco International Airport on October 12th, 1972. I wrote it very European. I wrote 12 October 1972. However, storms forced them to stop overnight in Mendoza, Argentina. And to get from Argentina down to Santiago, there was a direct route, but it required an altitude of 25,000 to 26,000 feet.
Ooh, that's high.
Yeah, and the plane itself was an FH227D, its max capacity was 28,000. So it was really kind of pushing it to the max. Now, normally they would take a kind of U-shaped route that was 370 miles longer than just going kind of direct. And the weather was still bad on October 13th the next day when they were going to take off. So they waited a little bit and finally took off at 2:18 p.m.
Man, if the weather is bad, you do not take a shortcut.
Well, you know what's crazy? Well, they weren't taking a shortcut. They were just flying. But what's crazy is, like, this happened in 72, and, like, Kobe Bryant's helicopter went down because of bad weather, like, fairly recently. It's like, we all know.
You don't mess with that.
Yeah. Now, Ferradas had flown across the Andes 29 times previously, but he was training LaGuardia, who had the controls of the plane.
Okay.
So the plane itself was older and it was underpowered for the flight, but you know, that might have been one of the reasons for why it went down. There were clouds, so they had no visual confirmation of where they were.
That would be so disorienting. I would hate that.
Freaky.
Oh man.
So they were kind of relying on radio navigation to try and determine where they were in flight. At about 37 to 43 miles out of Curacao, the co-pilot notified air traffic control that they were about 1 minute out from Curacao, which they probably weren't if they were that far away. But they thought they were. So,
yikes.
Yeah. And under normal circumstances, it takes 11 minutes to pass through that area. But after 3 minutes, the co-pilot had radioed to the air traffic control with permission to descend. And
so he had no concept of distance or time or really truly like anything.
He had no idea where he was, yeah. And air traffic control, again, didn't know where they were because they were just going off of what the co-pilot was saying. And so they okayed the descent. And because of that, they turned too early. And they started, and beyond, along with turning too early, they also headed at a 0.014 degrees when they were supposed to make a 0.30 degree turn. So it was too early and it wasn't a big enough turn. So suddenly the passengers feel severe turbulence, and they start to see what looks like mountains, and they're like, uh-oh.
Oh, no.
And within noticing the mountains, suddenly the co-pilot tried to rapidly climb.
Yeah.
Like nearly vertical. And by the time that they get to that, the plane begins to stall and shake.
Yikes.
Yeah, and they're very close to the mountain. Ground collision alarms are going off, so all the passengers are kind of freaking out at this point. The pilot applies max power and ends up striking the mountain about 2 or 3 times.
Eee.
So he was able to bring the nose over the ridge of the mountain, but the tail cone clipped the ridge. And after the tail cone clipped the ridge, the right wing was severed, so much so that the force of shaking from this right wing being clipped off ended up ripping the stabilizer and the tail cone off completely.
Yikes.
And the tail cone is the back of the ship, essentially.
Yeah.
With the tail cone, they lost 2 rows of seats, the rear passenger cabin, the galley, the baggage hold, the vertical and horizontal stabilizers, and left a gaping hole where 3 passengers and the navigator and steward were sucked out.
Oh, God, that would be the worst death.
Freaky.
Oh, sucked out of a plane?
Yep.
Oh, man.
So the plane continued up about 200 more meters just a few seconds afterwards, and when the left wing was struck, and in that 2 more passengers fell out.
Yikes. Oh.
At that point, the rest of the plane ended up sliding down the mountain like a high-speed toboggan, and finally, after 2,379 feet, came to a stop.
Yikes.
They hit a snowbank, and seats were torn and thrown against the bulkhead and each other. The seats were thrown against each other. The cockpit was crushed. The pilot died instantly. And they ended up laying rest at 11,710 feet in a glacier.
Oh.
I know. And this glacier was later named the Glacier of Tears.
Oh. Can I say something horrible? But I'm going to say it anyway.
I've been saying something horrible this whole time.
I would rather, out of all those people that have died so far, I would want to be the pilot.
Yeah, just you wait.
Instant death. Not falling out of a plane.
Wait. Yeah.
Not eating your friends.
Yeah.
None of that.
So they ended up being in a remote mountain area, which was on the border between Chile and Argentina. It was 50 miles east of the planned route.
Oof.
Yeah. Of the 45 passengers that started the trip, 3 passengers and 2 crew died from that tail, being the tail cone ripping off. And then the other 2 that got sucked out on that left wing were Daniel Shaw and Carlos Valletta. And Valletta actually survived the fall, but he stumbled down into a glacier, falling into deep snow, and suffered asphyxiation and died.
Yikes.
Which, spoiler alert, they found his body on December 14th. 4 were dead upon impact, plus the pilot. And then there were 33 remaining. Many were critically injured. The co-pilot was trapped and crushed in the cockpit, and he asked one of the passengers to just shoot him. And they refused to.
They refused? Oh, I don't know what's worse. Shooting the guy or, like, letting him horrifyingly live. Oh.
I know. Horrible, right?
Horrible. This whole situation. Ugh.
And that's where we're going to leave it.
All right, that's where we're going to leave it.
To let you feel awful. And just you wait, it gets worse.
All right, thanks, Liz.
Yeah, pretty crazy, pretty disastrous. I can't imagine.
I don't know if I'm supposed to ask you what's inside my body yet because I don't know.
You don't know.
All right, we'll see you in part 2 next time.
In part 2.